Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi says her department received a flood damage assessment report from KwaZulu-Natal that will now go to the Auditor-General's office. This is to ensure that there are no irregularities, no mismanagement of the funds occurred amidst the rollout of humanitarian help for flood-ravaged victims. The minister applauding her team today for its handling in response to the floods. Kubayi was tabling her maiden budget vote for the 2022-2023 financial year. Athi Mtongana joins us now. Athi, good afternoon to you. What's the main message from the minister there?
Well, it's interesting, Stephen, that you mentioned some of the initiatives and some of the reports that the minister has received in as far as the KZN floods are concerned. There's some key issues that the minister mentioned with regard to addressing some of the challenges and the backlog that the Department of Human Settlement has had over the years, and that's the introduction and the formation of that national war room. We'll talk to her about it. She's actually standing by here with me. Thank you so much, Minister, for your time. That war room, you spoke about the academic people who are involved in it. Let me say people who hold high academic qualifications. Are you trusting them to take forward some of these challenges that have grappled the department?
No, definitely. Not only the high qualification, but experience. They've been ranging from people who have experiences that working with all spheres of government. Obviously, the convener of the war room is a former DG, the former head of the National Disaster Management Center in the country is also joining our war room. This will assist us in responding to the issues around disasters. You can imagine, as the human settlement, we get to be the worst affected. So this expertise are assisting us. We've got planners there. So it will help us to improve on our planning, but it will also help us to improve on our intervention, because currently what we see is that I would visit areas, I find problems. When I leave, I come back and then I still see sometimes that things have not moved faster than the way I would want them to happen, or the interventions are not happening in the manner that is satisfying to communities. So this is why we have this war room coming in to assist us and beef up capacity. We've said to the team, this is the minimum that we have put, but should there be a need for us to expand, utilizing obviously what is available in terms of the resources, talking to the provinces, it will be able to assist. But we're also looking at our entities. I spoke about as well, intending to sign a ministerial directive specifically for the capacity in HDA to help us with informal settlements. I do believe it's a major crisis for us. It's a major issue. I get worried now. I was telling somebody I used to be excited when I hear that there's rain. Today when rain comes down, I see the weather forecast about rain, I get worried because I'm thinking about the people who are sitting on the flat lines, who are sitting closer to the rivers, who are sitting in areas where it's not suitable and are likely to be drowning, and we're losing lives. So we've got to be able to improve how we do things.
Some of the MPs came up with suggestions that you welcomed. Some of them raised issues about the upgrading of informal settlements at the back of the fires, for example, that take place in the Western Cape and the floods in KZN. How much money are you allocating to upgrade, particularly the informal settlements, and how will you then regulate the growth of these informal settlements, which we've seen growing during the pandemic?
Look, as I said, it's quite good to see members of parliament moving away from the politicking line and just saying, as South Africans, let's put together our heads and say this is what can be done. Obviously, within Western Cape, the issues of fires are a bit of a crisis for us, but it's also around just the issue of how we put them. So most of these informal settlements and the shacks, the way they are clustered, they're really close to each other. They don't allow space when fire outbreaks happen. Because obviously when it's winter, people try to warm themselves because they do not have any other mechanism. And either it's through wood or whatever that they put, then they end up, their shacks burning. So how do we reduce that? So we're working that. And some of the suggestions were about, rather, instead of providing houses, just provide more service lands and service sites, which is one of the things that we are interested in. We've been doing. We have started, and that's why the bulk infrastructure increase with the 30% of the overall budget per province will be able to be utilized for that. So overall, there is increase, as I said, but the challenge we have is that over time our budget has not been growing, has been shrinking, but we can do more with this. We've seen, and you'd have had members raising the concern that as we look at the last financial year, as we were closing, we would have not spent enough. And this is particularly because of the planning. We've divided the informal settlement upgrade into 3 phases. phase 1 upgrading and phase 3. But we do think that there is a need for us to go back to the drawing board and uncomplicate the way we are doing it, because we've really complicated it. And that's why I'm hoping with the War Room and HDA coming on board, will uncomplicate it, simplify it even for the municipalities. But there are major things that will have to happen within municipalities. One, the turnaround time within the planning unit to approve establishments or township and make them established townships. Because part of the problem is that when they remain informal settlement and not formalized, it becomes difficult to provide services. So we're relying on municipalities to change their bylaws, to change their city policies, so that they can improve the rate and pace we are providing upgrading of informal settlements.
A bit more detail, Minister, about the report that you received about the situation in KZN and the involvement of your department.
Look, in KZN, we regularly, every week, as you know, we establish just a small war room that focuses on the floods. It's got municipality, specifically eThekwini, it's got the province and national. Part of the work that has been done is to, firstly, it was around assessment, ensuring that we can count the numbers of households that have been affected, partially damaged and fully damaged. Secondly, is to start erecting the TRUs in the areas where they've been affected, and also providing the vouchers on the partially affected houses. One of the issues that, as we interact with the minister in the presidency, giving me feedback, was they're regularly checking whether we are complying with the prescript that the president has said. You'd remember, President assured the nation to say we are going to ensure that there's a monitoring team that looks at pre-audits or what we call real-time audits. Now, real-time audits, they are prescript that requires you need to provide information up front, you need to provide scope. And what was comforting was to hear that as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, they've been going out on tender to go in terms of requiring those who will provide the services. They've actually complied. That was comforting. So we'll move into the next areas such as Northwest and as well as Eastern Cape to ensure that they are complying as well. We have not received that report, and also ourselves as National Department have asked the CFO, the acting CFO, to ensure that we are compliant with the prescript.